Hello and welcome to Cherries Red Army. Wherever you are in the world, we hope you're having a fantastic week. And what a fantastic and comfortable start for Andoni's AFC Bournemouth 4-0 win over Hibernian. I've got a panel of guests behind the scenes. They're ready to come on and talk about that and plenty more because we're in for some players in the transfer window. One's just been confirmed in a Bournemouth shirt this season. Do subscribe to the channel, do hit the like button, help this video grow over the next couple of days. If you're live and interactive, the chat is open. Providing you're subscribed, you'll be able to get involved and communicate with other fans this evening. If you're watching this back on replay, you can use the comments, but thank you very much for checking this video out. Right, let's get our fans on. Let's talk about the win over Hibernian and much, much more. Good evening and welcome to Cherries Red Army. And let's go to John, who raced home to get hold of the stream for the Hibernian win. How you doing, John? On mute.
I thought I might be. I'm good, thank you, Kirk. Thanks for asking. Yes, I was still at work by the time the game started, but yeah, rushed home to see what I can, and yeah, certainly looked promising. Looking forward to seeing more of that against Maccabi Tel Aviv in the next game.
Yeah, plenty to talk about this evening. We've also got James Musselwhite on again, fantastic Bournemouth fan, and he was multitasking whilst he was watching the stream this evening. How you doing, James?
Yeah, not bad. I was cooking some chicken and rice. I was settling in about 25 minutes into the first half, expecting to see 20 minutes worth of football, and the feed cut after 5 minutes. And I saw that we're playing 3 periods of 30 minutes, which is the future of football. Get used to it. In 15 years' time, that's what we'll be settling down to watch.
James was cooking in the kitchen and Donny's cooking in Marbella. We've also got Steve, who, talking of replays, is exactly what he was doing 5 minutes ago to finish watching that stream on Hibernian's YouTube channel. How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Yeah, like you say, I got home a bit too late. I completely missed the first half, so I've literally just come straight off watching it. But yeah, good result, and I'm sure we'll delve into it.
We definitely will. Right, who's joining us this evening? Ben Youssef, how are you? Thank you very much. We've also got Chris Hubble, Mark Cole, good evening. We got another Mark, Cameron Meach, Mark Singleton, Mike Irwin from the States, Luke Andrews. Always put some nice comments on social media, so thank you very much for that, Luke. And we have got Aaron, who is joining us in the chat. We've got Sean, and anyone else joining us, do place your comments in there, and we'll show as many as we can on the screen. But let's get straight into it. Our first topic, guys, is to talk about that pre-season over Hibernian. We'll bring the lineups up in a minute. It was Andoni's first pick, John, in regards to looking at the squad. We know there were some absentees that weren't even in the full squad. We'll look at them in a moment. But as the lineup comes onto the screen, any surprises in there, or is it an opportunity for Andoni to look at some players that were maybe on the cusp of the squad and having an early look at them?
I think the only surprise was the fact that we were missing some of the players I expected to be there. In terms of Solanke wasn't in the 11, Tavernier wasn't there. You know, I was aware of Rothwell's injury, of Semenyo's injury, but there was a few more that I expected to feature that didn't. Having said that, when I saw the lineup, I wasn't all that surprised. The only one maybe a little bit would have been that if he was possibly naming his strongest 11 that he could, I would have expected to see Zabani in there instead of Mepham. But not that I'm too disappointed with that. I'm a big fan of Chris Mepham. But for the most part, that was basically the strongest 11 you could see from the players available, whilst you could argue Ouattara maybe belongs in there. And Clive, we obviously haven't seen yet, and then there's the goalkeeper. But it's pretty close to the strongest 11, and the formation is what I think most of us were expecting to see, is a 4-2-3-1 with Christie playing pretty central, close to Kiefer Moore.
No Dom Solanke, no Kelly, no Tav, no Semenyo, no Rothwell, no Traore in the full squad. Steve, looking at that lineup, you've got Ben Greenwood, who naturally plays as a centre-back within the academy, but naturally left-footed, so having a go at left-back because we know we haven't got any of them naturally at the moment. Gav Kilkenny also playing in midfield. And David Brooks, who sort of finished the season well, although we lost the last 4 games. He came out with that with some credit. And we'll talk about David Brooks a little bit more in a moment. But yeah, pretty decent lineup from Andoni there.
Yeah, like John said, he's gone pretty strong there. But it was good to see, like, as the game progressed, we did rotate. Most players got a run out. I don't know, is there a problem with Kelly at the moment? Has he picked up an injury out there? Because I suppose he could have played at left back just to fill in. But I thought for the main, I mean, pretty much most of them put in a good shift. It looked really hot out there. Thought David Brooks did really well, actually. I mean, the first goal was lovely. Hell of a strike, picked it, took corner. The only one I'd say that probably struggled, in my opinion, was probably Greenwood at times, but that's to be kind of expected a little bit. He's, like you say, he's out of position a little bit. But on the whole, a really good workout. Everybody can come off the pitch with their head held high.
Because of the heat, James, 3 30-minute periods. In that first period, it was a really explosive start from us. David Brooks got the first goal with good work from Keith Moore and an assist. And then Jaden Anthony got the second goal in 12 minutes with Christie assist as well. So good work from Keith Moore up top. And some good early stuff from some youthful players in our squad that have been in our squad now for a good period of time, but showing some good prospect early on in pre-season.
Yeah, very much so. I was just looking at that Hibernian lineup. Their centre-back's called Rocky Bushiri Karanja, and I can't work out whether he's a boxer from Queens or a Bond villain, but he sounds amazing. How did he get on? No, it's really good. It was really positive. The little I saw, and I'm not going to lie and say that I saw all of it. The little I saw, I thought Christie looked really, really busy and positive, which was nice to see. Wonderful to see Brooks. You know, we haven't seen David Brooks for a number of seasons now for reasons out of his control. So he's got the goodwill of the fans behind him to sort of do well. That lineup to me looks like a lineup of everyone our new manager has to take a look at because they're not his signings. I'm not suggesting that the signings we made in January are his signings and that he's very aware of them and that he may be pushed to get them on board. But I think that lineup pretty much screams of let's have a look at who's here. Let's have a look at who's under contract and let's have a look at what I've got to work with. But clean sheet, 4 goals. And the wonderful influencer capital of the universe, Marbella, for the guys to enjoy themselves in. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, I mean, because Steve, Kilkenny had a very good game. Luke Andrews, Kilkenny looked great. And Kilkenny does this for us. He looks like he is a player that can step up and play in the Premier League, but then he doesn't quite step up. Then he gets loaned out, can't get in a Stoke team, struggles to do anything in League One, comes back and has a very good game against Hibernian in Marbella. What can Gavin Kilkenny do this pre-season to put himself in the thoughts of Andoni for the new season?
It's difficult, really, because I think every time he plays for us, pretty much, he never lets us down. We always say he's a decent talent. He had numerous good games in the Championship for us. And I thought, again, tonight he was good. Very neat and tidy, did his job well, was very busy. It's a strange one, why he doesn't ever get that chance at a shot at the higher level. I suppose we don't see what goes on in training so much. I know we always see the good bits of training via the media team, but it's a bit of a strange one because I do like him. I think he's got a hell of an engine on him. He puts himself about. He's neat and tidy, like I said. Don't know. Maybe there's a bit of naivety in his game at times, possibly, but he's still a young lad. He's still got. I'm still sure there's a bit developing to do. So hopefully he can just work hard this summer and just maybe Andoni sees that he's trying his hardest. He's worth keeping around the squad because I think he can do a job for us. I really do.
Strong enough for centre midfield in the Premier League, Steve, or does it not really matter if it's a 2 pivot?
There is maybe an argument to say he's not the strongest, but he's very tenacious. So for what he makes, he might lack in a bit of strength. He's tenacious. He's dogged. He'll get about people. So I don't know. I think he's got it in him. It's down to him whether he shows that consistency on a regular basis.
John, let's talk about David Brooks, who got over the biggest battle in his life. He looks hungry. He looks like he's putting in everything for this pre-season to be fit and wanting to be on that starting lineup for West Ham. He got a great goal outside the box. We only scored 3 last season. David Brooks, he looks like he wants it this season, John.
Yeah, he did look. He looked well up for it. I think that if you get a right back in who is going to be able to bomb on, support him a little bit better in terms of helping confuse the opposition defence and move people about, I think you'll get even more out of him, because while he was often very wide, he came inside a hell of a lot and was getting himself much more involved in the middle of the pitch. Obviously scored his goal from there, but was able to still do some really great work from out further out wide as well. There was one of the best moments in terms of play for us that I thought, just generally, if you want to look at what Iraola might want to try and do in a game where we're going to dominate possession, was I think it's 1933. Christie has a shot cleared and it falls back to the defence. And over the next 75 seconds, we keep the ball, we move it one side, we keep it central, move it out. We horseshoe it a bit, but we're just waiting for the opportunity to turn up. And Brooks starts wide, comes central, sort of messes about the formation of the defence. Adam Smith bombs on, lovely long range pass. They pass between each other a little bit, Smith and Brooks, and he ends up pulling a wonderful nutmeg on who ends up being the centre back that is marking him. Cuts inside, puts it on a plate for Christie on the 6-yard line, who mucks up his first touch and whacks it straight at the player that blocks him. If Christie could actually take a touch inside the penalty area, he'd get half a dozen goals for us. But that was him and a lot of other players. Everyone touched the ball in that move apart from Kiefer Moore. And it was so good to see, just in the game as well, the freedom that Brooks had and the touches that he was taking, still putting in the defensive work rate. There was a lot to be pleased about with a lot of players, but Brooks obviously with the goal, but with a lot of other stuff, he did shine today.
So throughout the second 30 and the third 30, James, there were some changes. Naturally, that's going to happen. The goalkeepers played a 30 each. And I want to come on to talk about a certain player who may or may not be in a Bournemouth shirt this season, because Philip Billing has 12 months left on his contract. In his prime, he's had 3 fantastic seasons where he has given a great output. Top goal scorer for us last season, scored 2 today, 2 assists from Cliver, new signing. Philip Billing. What is this? Is this sign a contract now, because there's big money in Philip Billing if he doesn't sign a new contract?
Is there big money in Philip Billing if he doesn't sign a contract, though? That's the thing. I don't know whether a potential buyer doesn't wait out a year. And I don't know how much money's a factor. We're going to come on to money being a factor in transfers later on. I don't want to give away too much, but I remember back in the day when, we were hanging on for a Danny Ings £1 million transfer to Burnley just to keep the club alive, sort of thing, and then further beyond that, transfers for much less. I'm not sure money's a factor so much in this sort of new look Bournemouth, and I think the upside to keeping Billing and potentially having him sign a new contract is much greater than any transfer fee that we could get. I've been on record before. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's a gem, and I think he probably would suit, what our new manager's looking to do with this Bournemouth team. He's done it. He scored 2 goals today.
Yeah. He
do it every time.
He's more effective when he's further forward. I mean, who would have thought, guys, that when he's played further forward, you get output? Steve, something controversial coming your way about Philip Billing, because I really, really like Philip Billing over the last 3 years, and I'd like him to stay. But does it really damage us if he doesn't?
Do you want my honest opinion? No, I don't think it does. It's not to say I don't think he's a great player, but I don't think he's not irreplaceable for me. Because I think we've already got players at the club that could slot into that position. The likes of Brooks, Christie was sort of playing their first part of the game today. Although, like we say, Christie, he could add numbers, he would be there every week, but he still gets himself in those positions if he just needs to work on that finishing. So Phil, I'd like him to stay. I think I agree with James. I think he could work under this new manager quite well. But at the end of the day, if the club decide that he's worth cashing in on, it wouldn't be the end of the world for me. I would wish him well, and he's been a great servant to us. But it's one of them. I think we've already got players that could serve a purpose there, and if not, we're ambitious club now, as Bill keeps saying. Why not go and get somebody? And obviously Kluivert can play there as well. Traore can play there. It's we've got a wealth at the minute.
John, I had a look at your facial expression. Traore's waiting in the wings in case Billing decides that he doesn't want to sign a new contract. What did the club do? Surely leading up to that final transfer window in August, we can't let it go to January, because then obviously it's in his court and he can start talking to clubs. But what do we do now? Because Billing's a great player, but he's on 12 months.
And as long as it's for a club outside of the Prem, he can sign a pre-contract agreement in January, and he would have plenty of suitors from certainly at least some of the bigger clubs in Europa level, at least I would say, across Europe. And I think that, because I thought when I actually brought up that I thought we should sell Billing a couple of months ago, just because I think, if you get 20 odd million for him, Bournemouth have historically been absolutely dreadful of actually selling players and getting any money at all for people that are halfway decent, except for when we went down, of course, when we managed to sell 3 players from some very good value. Billing is replaceable, because if you look at the 10 position that he came on in, Christie was playing there for 60 minutes. Brooks could play there. Traore could play there. You could argue that Anthony could fit in there. I think he would work quite well in that position. We've got quite a few players that could work the entirety of the front, that front 3 behind the striker. And I thought in my video that I put out a little while ago, I had Christie playing in the 10 and Billing actually being a little bit deeper. So when Christie started in the 10, I thought, oh yeah, I've called that one. And then when Billing came on, Christie got pumped to the right hand side. I was like, okay, well that sees where Billing is definitely preferred under Iraola, which is what I think a lot of Bournemouth fans want to see. They'd rather him play that higher up the pitch. I do think that didn't see the best of him at all in that game, apart from his finishing, because I thought he took a number of poor touches, wasn't doing the work that Christie was doing, but he is only recently back from his holidays as well, so I don't think he's up to speed. Yeah, look, I think either way works. It really doesn't matter. We've got the players that can replace him. Traore, we haven't seen the best of in any way at all yet, but he was our player of the. He was most arguably our player of the season last season. So to lose him on a free, I'd be annoyed with. But at the same time, getting say 20 million for him and then going down if we don't have him is not the same as keeping the 110 or whatever you get from staying in the Premier League. So just making sure he stays around and get the most out of him for a year is far more important than necessarily getting 20 million for him by selling him now.
So at full time, I did put a post out asking for your one hot take from that 4-0 win over Hibernian. Do get involved in these over pre-season and as the season starts. We'll just scroll through for a couple of comments. Cherry Blossom, nice to see more front foot possession-based tactics, quick passing, more aggressive, high press, but still able to defend deep when needed. Some other comments in there as well. Longy just wants a decent internet connection in his bar, so you've got a few weeks to get Longy until that kicks off in the Premier League, although I think you do go to most home games. Ben has gone for Brooks. Wing play needs engines, no crab ball at all. And up the Cherries, we need at least 5 more good squad players. I think I might agree with you, because we're going to talk more about transfers in a minute. But James, I know you didn't watch it all because you were cooking dinner, but if I was to ask you for a hot take from today, what would you take away from what you saw?
I really enjoyed what I heard from the Hibernian commentary. It's really nice. It's really good. It's really good to get fans involved.
Yeah,
that's what I think. And there should be more fans involved at commentary level.
Even if they do.
That was a Hibs current player that was the one of the two commentators. That wasn't a fan. I think the Scottish guy might have been a fan based on what he was saying, but the Scouser was a current Hibs player. I don't know which one, but
I enjoyed it.
Although he did think that Patrick Kluivert was playing for Bournemouth, not Justin. Yeah. So yeah, Steve, have you got a hot take from that first pre-season game?
I do like James's one. I do. There was many points to that game where I was laughing to myself at some of the stuff they were coming out with. It was brilliant. Referring to the football, I think it was good to see that we, what we've talked about for the last we've speculated about, should I say, for the last sort of few weeks with Iriola and what we were going to expect from him. It was good to see it in full flight, sort of thing, and to see that, you know, we are going to be a lot more front foot, or it looks that way. You know, there was a bit more directness to our play. There's lots of balls over the top, lots of balls into the channel. Funnily enough, to see Kiefer trying to run onto them was not what I expected to see, but he did a good job, old Kiefer. I thought he was good today. Yeah, I mean, the fullbacks weren't as bombing on as much as I expected them to, or we thought they would do under Iriola. I thought Smudge would probably run himself into the ground, and maybe I hope he's all right from it. But yeah, all in all, I think it was just nice to see us a bit more, like Cherry Blossom said, a bit more front foot, a bit more direct, a bit more pace to our game, a bit more pressing.
Luke also says, my hot take from the game was seeing Brooks sparkle again. Great finish, lovely dribbling, beautiful nutmeg. John, I really liked how direct we were, especially early doors. Senesi loved the ping towards Jaden Anthony, so we'll keep a close eye on that. What's your hot take from that 4-0 win against Hibernian?
A hot take, something different to what other people. I think that I was surprised. I think Clivert could actually do a decent job at the centre forward. Based on what I've seen there, I need to see more of it. But from what he started with, his link-up play was decent, although need to see more of him. And I think that just backed up to me that Adam Smith is not the right back for this season. I give him credit for his work rate for when he got forward. But I mean, Ben Greenwood, I wasn't aware that Ben Greenwood was mostly a centre back converted to left back, because I've only ever seen him at left back, so I just assumed he was a left back. But you can see he got forward and he provided a lot more than Adam Smith was able to. But when Adam Smith did get forward, he put in a few half-decent crosses, but like, he just doesn't have the energy. He doesn't have the energy for it anymore.
Sorry, can I just want to point out AFC Bournemouth Germany's hot take. That's I concur with that.
What's he put? Oh, yeah. I nearly put that on the screen as well. But if you want to check it out, it's in the interactive
Because I did think
chat.
through the game, as much as it was a friendly, I thought they were very, very poor.
But here's the other thing just to consider. They came fifth, which means they are in a Europa or I think they're in a Conference League playoff.
Play Hearts for the last place in the last game of the season.
And like they're about League One level. So
This is the equivalent of in the 80s when teams used to win the Welsh Cup and get into the UEFA Cup that way. It's this generation's equivalent of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a massive competition, but it got us thinking, right? We've talked about our hot takes and we just played a Scottish side. So it did get us thinking about our little bit of fun at half time, and you can get involved in the interactive chat. So what is your top 3 favourite Scottish players to play for the Cherries? So have a think about it. You've got about 1 or 2 minutes in the chat because I'm going to go around the room. Let's start with John. So your top 3 from 3 to 1 Scottish players played for Bournemouth.
Well, I haven't seen really many. I did have a look up to see what Scottish players did play for Bournemouth. There was something wrong with my screen though, because the third player on the list just turned up as black bars. So I don't know. There's some player that's sort of been grayed out. I don't know what's happened there. I think he played a few years ago for us, but I can't remember. So third would probably, in order, is probably Warren Cummings third. I didn't see a lot of him, but he was a very faithful servant to the club, and obviously, very fondly remembered by everyone here. And I probably heard more from him doing Coventry on youth games than I have actually seen him play football for us. But I did very briefly. Second would probably be Ryan Christie. Not really much more that I need to add to that. And then the first one might be cheating because he was not born in Scotland, but he did represent them. Would be Matt Ritchie, and I don't think that's.
He'd never even been there, had he?
He hadn't until he played the first time he went there to play for them. Yeah, having grown up on the south coast, born in Portsmouth, I believe, trumped the other end of the country to get over and get some international football. But Matt Ritchie. Legend of the club, still one of very few players to ever get 15 goals and 15 assists in a championship season. One of 4, I believe.
What a fantastic player he was. So John's gone for number 3, Cummings. He's gone for number 2, Christie, and number 1, Matt Ritchie. What is your top 3 favourite Scottish players to play for the Cherries in the chat? Do get them in there. We'll show them on the screen. James,
Yeah.
I reckon you're going to bring one right into a lovely conversation. What have you got?
Let's see what we got. I've chosen these 3. I've chosen Dave Shearer, number 3. I'm obsessed with the forwards that Harry Redknapp signed at the late 80s that weren't that good. So I'm obsessed with players like Sean Close, who played 100 times for Swindon after us and never scored. I'm obsessed with Paul Molden, who was hot for half a season and then hacked Sean Teal to death in training. Was never heard from again. I'm obsessed with Andy Jones for some reason, like a Welsh forward who looked the part but just couldn't hit the back of the net. And I'm obsessed with a guy called Brent Goulet, who I only ever saw play at Testimonials in about 1988. But Dave Shearer was one of these. Only played 11 times for Bournemouth in our first season in what was now the Championship, what was Division 2. Scored 3 goals. And him and Trevor Aylock paired up front, which must be the most brutal front pairing partnership
battering
of Bournemouth
rams
forwards ever. 2 battering rams. My number 2 is Derek Holmes, because when Derek Holmes was signed from the Scottish leagues, you're thinking, there's a guy called Derek. He's 7'2" and change, and he's going to come down breathing fire and snorting out lightning. And he's the most benign forward you've ever seen. He's really tall. He was so good with his feet in the 6-yard box. He scored more tap-ins than he did headers. Just obsessed with that guy. Just a really, really bizarre sort of mix there from Derek. And then lastly, John O'Neill from the late 90s. And the reason why I like John O'Neill is because 2 reasons. Firstly, like most Bournemouth fans, I didn't really know what John O'Neill did. But secondly, John O'Neill on Championship Manager 1996 was amazing. He was defensive, midfield, attacking centre. You could play him anywhere. Play him centre-back, play him sweeper, play him as a playmaker in the middle, or, most importantly, you could play him up front. And for 3 seasons in a row, he was my top goal scorer with 30-plus goals. John O'Neill, number 1.
John O'Neill, number 1. And I tell you what, James, Ben agrees with you a little bit there.
2 out of 3.
Derek,
Never
John O'Neill. I told you in the chat, told you it'd be good. If you're watching this back on replay, let us know your top 3 in the comments. Steve, that's something to beat there. Go for it.
How do I follow that? I mean, some of the legends of our club right there for you. I didn't actually see John O'Neill play. That was a bit of my wilderness years, but so I don't remember him very fondly. But Derek Holmes, he was a player. Yeah. Anyway, my top 3 is going to be. Never saw this guy play in the flesh myself. I'm sort of. This is a nod to my dad's era and the stories I heard of this guy. And I've actually been lucky enough to share a drink with him. He's an absolute diamond. Record goal scorer in FA Cup game. Yeah, all those accolades and we've got a stand named after him is Ted McDougall. Absolute legend of the club. Unfortunately, all I've ever seen is the old footage of his Norwich goals and all the stories my dad used to tell me. But I think he needs to be in there just because of who he is. And number 2, I would probably go with Matt Ritchie for that, as John did. Debatable whether he is actually Scottish, but that's a conversation for another day. And number 1 for me has to be Warren Cummings. I just think he was such a great fullback for us. Played over numerous, it was probably a decade. Just an absolute stalwart of the club, and just wore his heart on his sleeve every game. It's just just exactly what you want from a player like that. He's still around the club now, in the youth setup, or sort of, and like John said, he's doing a bit of commentary on Solent as well. So yeah, big fan of his. Great player for us, and through the tough periods as well, he was excellent.
Love it. And I'll go for Warren Cummings, number 3, 20 years ago, run into his plaster cast leg in Asda Castle Point. I'll also go for Matt Ritchie is in the conversation as well. Number 1, probably in Ted McDougall. Do it all the wrong way round, shall I? And put Ted McDougall in there, just like Steve. A very, very, very great striker in those days, and scored a fantastic goal that we've seen many times. I think against Aston Villa, wasn't it? The diving header.
Villa.
It was.
73.
Yeah. It was. So there we go. Bit of fun there. So there's your top 3 favourite Scottish players that played for AFC Bournemouth. And that's a 4-0 win for Bournemouth against Hibernian. We'll talk about the upcoming next match on Sunday, I think. Might have that wrong, but I think it is Sunday. But we're going to move on to some more transfer news and club news as well. And we're going to talk about Alex Scott. We're going to talk about also, guys, the upgrade in our category status for our training ground. But let's just take a look at some club news that's come out in the last couple of days. After a successful loan move, thank you for all your efforts, Ben, and we wish you well for the rest of your career. Cherries have agreed a deal worth £15 million to sign Lyon midfielder Romain Fevre and will be immediately loaned back to Lorient, where he spent last season. And our first fixture amendments are out. Tottenham has moved to Saturday 12:30 kickoff 26th of August, Chelsea to a Sunday 17th September 2 p.m. and Brighton to a Sunday 24th September 2 p.m. Romain Fevre. Did I do it right, John?
Not far off. But yeah, to be honest, if you're going to I'm not expecting you to put the French accent on, so don't worry about it.
No, absolutely. I gave it my best shot. James, we just spent £15 million on a winger and we've just let him go to Lorient on loan. I mean, little old Bournemouth, right?
I don't know what to say about this. This is just not. This isn't a thing, is it? This isn't like. This is so alien to being a Bournemouth fan, to accrue talent and sell it to your sister club. Weren't there rumours around about 1997, I want to say, that we were going to be a feeder club to Chelsea? There were rumours circulating that we were going to be the Lorient of Bournemouth, essentially. This is
we got to feed them.
Right. I think they were going to send us their youth players and we were going to have them in League One and whatever. And so it might have been, I don't know, something on the Vitals forums. I don't know that I read. But I mean, this is bizarre. I tried to do the Takello Ranti on this guy by looking him up on YouTube. Bear in mind, Takello Ranti looked like Pele on YouTube. This guy's YouTube, not quite the same. A lot of like crosses that sort of went in and are gathered by the keeper and stuff like that. I just don't know. This is strap in, guys, because this is it. This is what we've bought. This is what the club has bought into now. This is the system. It is the accruement of wealth and players and talent that aren't necessarily ours. It's part of this big umbrella. And whether you like it or whether you don't like it, it's happening.
This guy was linked with PSG 2 years ago, Steve. He's 24. He's got some pretty decent numbers, actually, when you look what he's done in the French top league. I mean, I wouldn't mind him right now, actually, to be honest with you, although David Brooks has started the pre-season very well. But he is in that position where Dango plays, Tav plays, David Brooks plays. So maybe we don't need him. And we've done a favour for our friends at Lorient.
Yeah, I thought he was actually a central midfielder player, but that's news to me that he's a winger. But so, yeah, we're absolutely awash with wingers. So it makes sense from that point of view. But yeah, it's strange, isn't it? I don't know what's happened since the interest from PSG, because like you say, his numbers are still pretty good. And as my kids, show me every year, the FIFA cards and all the rest of it, he always has a decent FIFA. I mean, he is a decent player. But yeah, I mean, it's a weird time, isn't it? Like James has just pointed out, that we're purchasing guys and then loaning them straight out. And when people might say, well, we need players ourselves. I'm sure there's some sort of FFP sort of connotations to this. I don't know exactly what they are, but yeah, we'll see. But hopefully he turns out to have a couple of a good season at Lorient, and we may reap the benefits in a year or so.
Yeah, it doesn't look like, John, it's going to cost us a lot of money. I think Lorient are going to cover the wages. So from our transfer pot, we're still pretty okay, and we should benefit from this after he's had another season in France.
Yeah, so I remember seeing rumours early on in pre-season about this, that Lorient loved this guy when they got him on loan from Brest. I think it was from Brest. whoever they got him on loan from wherever he was before we bought him. But the news was that they couldn't afford to buy it, even though they really wanted to. So they were going to have to ask Bournemouth to do a deal to bring him in and loan him there. And I remember reading that and thinking, yeah, good luck with that. I mean, yeah, Foley part owns you, but don't frip and push it. And then, wouldn't you know it, we end up doing exactly that. I would say 50 million euros. So, with conversion, cut off a couple million off the pounds for that one. But yeah, they're paying a loan fee as well. So a decent chunk of the actual fee that we're paying is taken away, and they're paying his wages in full, apparently. So, and bearing in mind, obviously, with amortization, whatever we got him on in maybe, I don't know, a 3-year deal, probably 3-4 years. So it's £3 or £4 million a year that will go on our books. If they pay us 3 or 4 million as a loan fee, he literally costs us nothing in our books for the entirety of this year. So it's kind of a brilliant move, really. If you look at his stats on FB Ref, I mean, his progressive passing carries are ridiculous stats wise. So the thing is, he looks kind of a bit like another David Brooks in that he plays off the right but loves playing down the middle, very comfortable with his left foot, loves to shift inside, good with the dribble, good with passing. But we've already got one of them. So putting him out on loan, you never know. Tav kicks on. Ouattara suddenly looks like a world beater. Someone ends up being sold for 30 million next year. And we've got Fabra already in the house who comes in and replaces him. So I think that it's a pretty brilliant deal all around. Whilst a lot of people, I'm sure, will be going, what the hell are we doing? The only obviously thing is that we have to stay up to really keep him, I guess. But that's kind of assumed at this point, is it? Fingers crossed. Let's not knock on wood.
I'm not saying anything till Bill Foley confirms it.
I did what James did. I thought I'd go and have a look at a few clips. And actually, he reminded me a little bit like Dango Ouattara, although he looked like he was in control of his feet a little bit better. So very, very similar. Very, very similar. Talking about Ouattara, he missed a great chance in that Hibernian 4-0 win, by the way. But he does look like he's got a great left foot, and his stats are pretty good, but going off very little, of course. That was
another thought, actually, I had as a hot take. Keep Ouattara as far away from our own penalty box as possible, because the guy can't take a first touch in his own third, and that's a real worry.
The common theme now, though, James, is when we have this sort of news that doesn't quite reach out to the fan base, we quickly get something else out to sort of cover it. So what we did do is we went in for Alex Scott, Bristol City. Mark McAdams said yesterday that a £15 million offer plus add-ons had been rejected. Bristol City, James, want £25 million. This is a lad with a lot of potential, 19 years of age, 80 championship games, 5 goals, 6 assists, something like that. 25 million is a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, they demanded 25 million, and we should be paying them 30 million for him, in my humble opinion. I've got some inside knowledge on this from a Bristol City season ticket holder who watched them all last year. They call him the Guernsey Grealish down there. We need to get in early. We need to get in early on this guy. Apparently, bosses midfield, and they've played him in every position last season, from sweeper to fullback to a 6 to an 8. To a 10, has vision beyond the others around him. So he's sort of like, he's playing at a different level to the teammates that he's already playing with in the Championship. In their cup match against Man City, he was the absolute standout player from the Bristol City side. And the only thing he's missing in this game at this point at 19 years old is goals. He's already a winner as well, because he's won the Euros with the under-19s. Buys fouls well, which bodes well for us, a team that can't buy a penalty for love nor money for a whole season. And he's an old head on young shoulders. This guy is a future England star. 35 million. Put your hand in your pocket, Foley.
Steve, I like the player. I think he could be worth much, much more than that in a few years, but he's never played at Premier League level yet, and it's never guaranteed that they do reach that potential. But once upon a time, he was in our academy having some training sessions. Now we might be paying £25 million for him, but Wolves don't think he's worth £25 million. They said they're not interested.
Yeah, which, I mean, leaves the door open for the likes of us, doesn't it? So, I'm a bit like James. I don't know too much about him myself, but I've heard very good things about him. It's kind of almost a little bit like Jude Bellingham in a way. He's sort of, when he said about that old head on young shoulders and bosses midfield, I just think of Jude Bellingham. And this guy's sort of out the same sort of book, really. Yeah, go and get him, because I think these are the sort of signings we've done well with in years gone by, sort of taking risk on the young. But he's a bit, it's a David Brooks kind of signing. Unfortunately, David's had a bit of a stumbling block in his career, not of his own doing, but take a chance on youth, because we are that sort of, we will get those sorts of players where we might struggle to get more names, like big names in, because of who we are, but they want a stepping stone into the Premier League. We can be that, and look at the sell-on we'll probably get if all goes well. So I'm with James. Yeah, 40 million, stick it in.
my theory, John, is that, John, if we can pay 25 million for Alex Scott, also get 2 left midfielders, get another centre midfielder, and potentially a backup striker. Yeah, we need another one. We need
left backs.
Left backs, you mean?
2 left backs, sorry, 1 centre midfielder, another right back, and maybe another striker. If we can still do that and pay 25 million, I'm all for it, John.
Yeah, I mean, I think that personally, I don't think striker is anywhere near on the priority list, but I have seen a lot of comments online that said that we need one. I'm not so certain, because I think we've got at least 3 that could do the job. But 2 left backs, definitely need a right back, and definitely need a central midfielder. Alex Scott would not be the replacement for Jefferson Lerma.
No,
it's not nowhere near the same kind of player at all. So, he's not the ball-winning midfielder that a lot of players want to see as a replacement for Lerma. So if we do bring in Scott, we'd have to bring in another central midfielder, which would up our transfer business to 7 if you include Favre. Admittedly, he's going straight out now, so you can basically turn that into 6. But I mean, to be fair, Foley said it was going to be a busy window. Half a dozen is probably around about what we were expecting in terms of newcomers. And one of those has come in as 2. We brought in 2 wingers so far, and no one really thought we needed a winger. So we've still got a decent chunk of work to do, as you said. And I think Bournemouth need to be doing better at bringing in players and then fitting the Brighton and Brentford model of bringing in young players, bringing them through, getting them game time, improving them, and then when a big club goes in, we'll pay 50 for them. You go, brilliant, we've already got the replacement. So, and Bournemouth have been terrible at doing that. Eddie Howe was notoriously awful at saying, no, I don't want to sell anyone. Keep all of our good players. We never want to sell anyone. They're all exactly what I want. And then bringing in 3 new players and just gradually phasing people out and losing them for like £200,000 and doing nothing to our transfers. So, yeah, we need to be doing this kind of thing more often. And Alex Scott could easily, if we're paying 25, 30, 45, 50, 55, 60, 75, 80, we're paying, according to James, we should be paying that much. So, and he'll be worth clearly about 250 million by the time we're ready to sell him. So, definitely bring him in.
With the Wolves thing, the fact that they've dropped out of the race, and like we were talking about off air before, is there, it's a chance we could actually pick him up at a cheaper price, because I don't think there's been as many bids as they were expecting Bristol. And like you say,
this was something I saw someone put up on Twitter. Now, admittedly,
joking aside, us talking about 40 million, that's silly. We're just joking, obviously, but there's a chance we could get him at a bit of a discount, actually.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter, again, I have no idea how reliable it is, but I did see someone say that as something come up that Bristol City are maybe looking to possibly accept 20, because I think they maybe priced him out of the moved a little bit too much at 25 million. But I think it's no surprise that Wolves aren't interested in him anymore, because they can't score goals for toffee, so they can't bring in someone that doesn't score goals. Maybe that's why they've dropped off the interest in Scott. But 20 would be a fantastic pickup as well, just as much.
There is a chance that James could drop a WhatsApp message during this live stream to his contact at Bristol City and find out if we can get him for 20 million. But seriously, though, James, does it set a precedence if you pay 25 million for a player that's not played in the Premier League that shows potential, because you've got the likes of Liverpool paying 30 million for McAllister from Brighton, who's shown he can prove it in a World Cup and in the Premier League already?
Yeah, but this is it, though, isn't it? This is what we've bought. This is what. Oh God, I'm going to go on a rant now. This is what football is now, though. Like the Cinderella story doesn't happen. People go on about how Leicester won the Premier League and it was a Cinderella story. It really wasn't. They spent millions of pounds, and everyone else just didn't want to win the Premier League that season. Okay, they won it with like the lowest points tally, I think, for God knows how many years. The Cinderella story was us getting to the Premier League. If you enjoyed that story, great. I'm glad you enjoyed it because that was the end of the story. It ended there. If you want to progress beyond that, we have to spend multi-millions of pounds in our squad to compete, to even just get into Europe. And I'd love a little trip around Europe with Bournemouth. I think that would be amazing. That would be the end of the story for me, kind of thing. I don't silverware or winning the Premier League doesn't actually interest me, but to see Bournemouth in a competitive game, not in front of 30 people in Marbella on a jolly, but to actually be in a competitive atmosphere in a hostile environment in Europe, it really fills me with excitement. But we can only get there by spending money on big transfer fees, on players that have potential. And from what I understand, this guy's special, and we need to take a risk on. I'd rather take a risk on that, than take a risk on like countless other players that we have in the past that always came with problems, and always had that issue about them. I'd rather go with someone that we can mold and that we can shape and that we can bring into the team and that maybe could be the next England captain. I'd rather take a chance. That's more exciting to me, taking a chance than doing what we've done with transfers in the past.
Didn't know if you were going to add to anything there, Steve.
I was just sort of thinking to myself, in this current market, this day and age, is 25 million for a really hot prospect. Is it actually as bad as we're saying? I know it's a lot for us.
I was just Googling. Brooks was 10, wasn't he? Brooks was about 10.
Yeah, I think he was around 10,
Cook was 10. I think Brooks was just a little bit more, but yeah, basically.
Well, I could say Tavernier cost us 10. Tavernier cost us 10, and probably now he's worth 20 million minimum.
Well, Lerma was almost, and still is, almost expensive signing, 25 million. But he had like one, maybe two good seasons in Spain for a mid-table side. It's like, we weren't exactly betting on a sure thing with Lerma, I don't think. And obviously he went on to be a club legend. But there, at this level of football, there is no such thing as a sure thing. There just isn't. I mean, most Liverpool fans were saying, don't worry about Sterling, we've got Ibe. And then look what happened to him after us, ignoring obviously, his mental issues since then. But just sure things just don't exist at this point. And I think every signing is a gamble. You need to work to make it pay off.
And if it does pay off, there's potential a big profit there, because he will see us as a stepping stone, no doubt. I'm sure we have to sort of accept our position as the sort of club we are at the minute.
I suppose the only thing I was looking at when we bought Kluivert, who you could look at and say, why hasn't he ripped it up in some of these leagues he's played in? But it was 10 million. I felt like even if it doesn't go well for Kluivert, we're probably going to make our money back. This is a lot of money.
That's just insane from where we've come from, though, isn't it? It's insane. Yeah. As you said it there, I remember reading the article and saying, Kluivert, 10 million. Oh, well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's no real risk to it, is there? Do you know what I mean? But there's massive risk to it when in proportion. It's just, like I said, this season's going to be so alien to me. Yeah. I'm following Torquay most of this season as well because they got relegated. No, I'm just taking it because they got relegated to National League South, so they're playing all teams south of Walsall. And my neighbour's a Torquay fan, so we're going to go and do all the corporate hospitality for 45 quid. Looking forward to it. Padded seats. Let's do it.
How much is Bellingham just gone to Real Madrid for?
Good question.
It was 100. It was. I think it was just straight up 100 million.
Dortmund bought him for 25 million euros from a championship club. That's my point.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Although I don't think Bristol City are going to retire Alex Scott's shirt.
No. But what I'm saying is, he's a massive potential championship
absolutely.
Club.
You've got to go for it.
So Bill Foley did say that there are going to be a few surprises, and like James said, we might need to take some risks. Or Steve, you can improve your category status and help yourself by bringing players through the academy, retaining them, encouraging more players to come. Then you can make your money later on. That's what's happened, because we are now a Category 2 status with the developments we've made at Canford Magna with the training ground. More of that to come. The whole squad, the offices will be down there by 2024, Steve. This is great news. This is something we were calling for under Maxim Deming. It was his dream. It was Eddie's dream. And we're on that way to completing that dream.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming, like you said, but it's what we've been after for a long, long time. It stops, so many of our youngsters getting nabbed, like the likes of, oh Christ, my name, the lad that went off to Villa a few years back.
Bouchel?
Yes, Bouchel, yeah. He was touted as being a massive up-and-coming star, and then we lost him because we just didn't have the facilities, and Villa could offer him a much better. And hopefully that sort of stuff won't happen now, because we're going to be put in this Category 2 status. Just a question. I mean, I'm not too well up on the Category 2 status and what that actually means, but does it go to Category 1 or does it go to Category 2?
Yes, it does.
Does it go to Category 1?
There are about 14, I want to say, teams in Category 1 that play in the Premier League 2, and then you've got Category 2 status, where, again, this will be more competitive for our academy now in regards to matches and development.
Yeah. Well, it's a good step, and it's we need to develop more youngsters. We need to keep hold of those youngsters, because we've lost them. Like you say, you've just mentioned one we've lost this last few months, and it's a shame, because there's a lot of potential in these guys, and then they're just going off to greener pastures. But now we should have those greener pastures here. So brilliant news for me.
Lovely little touch, James, in the article for Joe Roach, who has now left the club, but an absolute legend of what he's done with that academy on pretty much nothing. Lovely touch, I thought, to mention him right at the end.
Legacy's important. I'll keep mentioning it, but legacy's important, and understanding where you came from is important. And we need people in and around the club to remind people. That's why trusts are so important, to keep those things going. Joe, like you said, did things on less than a shoestring to bring through players, like Ings and like Vokes and like Pittman, I remember, as well as numerous others who've come through and sort of like have been essentially like free transfers for us back in the day when we didn't have money to go and spend on Patrick Kluivert's son. It's just, I'm going to keep saying it's a different time. So yeah, but lovely little touch to mention Joe at the end. Legacy's important.
Sure, it put a smile on your face as well when that article came up, John, and that news broke about the Category 2 status that Bill Foley spoke about early doors when he took over to get that training ground done and help the squad. There's loads of vacancies opening up now on the official website with the positions for people to apply for, which is needed when you move categories as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't expecting it so quickly, because we've basically got one pitch and a shed built at Canford Magna or something like that at this point, because it's going to be at least another year, I think, until the entire complex is complete. But once that is done, it'll be fantastic, and we can then look to moving on to building a new stadium in place of where the current training ground is. I did see, I don't know whether it was Ben, it probably was Ben when I saw it online, and he's put a comment up as well here, is that I think it's the Training Ground Guru website. They sort of update about that sort of thing, and along with us, the other team that got Category 2 status of the same day was Fleetwood Town, and he said, well, that puts it into perspective, doesn't it? Because it's the fact that we just, well, I don't know what Luton's category is, if they do have a youth academy. Actually, I think they have to in the Premier League, but we were for many years the only non-Category 1 or 2 team in the Premier League in terms of youth facilities, which means our youth teams were basically just playing friendlies against decent opposition, because they weren't in a good league. They weren't in a competitive league. And you've seen that in the cup games that Bournemouth's academy has been overtaking the likes of Southampton in results over the years. And we need them to be getting good regular competitive game time now, and that's what they will do. They'll go into a league with other youth teams that are of a similar level. And that's vital. Going out and getting game time in non-league is nice and all, but that teaches you a different level of competitive edge because you're playing with people that are playing for their careers. But when you're training, when you're learning, you need to be playing against people at a good level, and that's what they'll have now. And looking forward to continuing the club to continue building that.
If you're watching us live on YouTube and Twitter, thank you very much. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe on our journey that continues in the 23-24 season. If you watch this video back, do use the comments and please hit the like button. A special mention, as always, to our monthly members. Thank you for your contributions. You can become a member or donate at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army. Do enjoy these videos. Do enjoy these debates. Do enjoy the fan panel and your comments as well. James, it's been great to have you on again. We're going to get you on much more throughout the season because I just enjoy your opinions. I'm not going to lie. But as we see out this stream, what would you like to see from the next game that's coming up in Marbella? Some of those players that we talked about that weren't in the squad, Dom Solanke, Kelly, Tab might be in contention. But what's next for Andoni going into second game?
What's next for Andoni? I want to see. I want to see the full Marbella experience, pitch side. I don't want to see anyone watching the game. I want to see people on sun lounges. I want blow up swimming pools. I want cocktail waitresses coming in and out of shot. I want people filming TikToks and all that kind of stuff. I want Marbella. I said to you at the start of the stream, Kirk, and I'm sorry that this is all about preseason friendlies and getting excited about and Andoni's, new tactics and all that. No one remembers preseason fixtures. Try and name a preseason fixture. I can't even name who we played today.
It's because you were cooking chicken.
It was.
Cooking
No, I just want to see, from what I saw, I just want to see the same intensity, the same high press. I want to see loads of goals. I want to see us not concede, all the usual stuff.
Yeah. Great to have you on again, Steve. Not a back three, right? In the next game, we just back four. Let's do some more of the good stuff we saw tonight.
Well, you don't know. You don't know what sort of plans he's got, and it could be anything. He could have a few sort of systems and ideas bubbling under. It's early doors with this new manager, and we don't know what's to come. But what I was pleased to see, what I don't want to see, is him walking around with 3 footballs. I've said he's like the octopus man. He just sort of seems to be able to carry the most amount of footballs I've ever seen. But no, it's good stuff. It was good to see the lads back out on the pitch. Just want to see that again, and hopefully we'll get to see some of the guys we haven't seen today. So some of those niggles might have relented. So we might get to see the likes of Dom, Tav, and a few of the others out there.
Thank you very much. Thank you, John. I keep telling Steve he just wants to keep the ball in play. He wants to keep it moving. Andoni, fast football. That's what he's looking for.
I reckon he can juggle with those 3.
I do.
That's what
you do. You think he can juggle?
Just to break out in it every so often to keep a bit of light entertainment going around the camp.
But John, the ball goes out of play. A new one comes in. What are you looking to see from the next game that's coming up very soon?
Hopefully some of those players that were injured coming back in. I want to see what Solanke will do. Wouldn't mind seeing Traore from the start as well. But it's as James said, it doesn't really matter all that much. Results really don't. To be honest, in this game, I've got no interest in rewatching the second or thirds. Because the first one is, as far as I'm concerned, the only one that really had any wager on what we were actually going to look like this season. Because the second third was dire, and the third Hibernian were knackered, and we just tapped 2 goals in. But the first third was looking good, and I did enjoy that. But to kick back on James, Real Madrid 6-0 loss, Marseille 3-0 win, Lyon 5-2 win. Those ones I remember. Even if I don't remember the goals, I remember the results.
Thanks, John. Great to see you again this evening.
Cheers. Thanks, Kirk.
Thank you very much, James, for joining us. See you soon.
Pleasure. See you soon.
Thank you very much, Steve. I'll definitely see you soon because I owe
you
you a bit.
You do. Yeah. I was just looking at the comments there, and Gladstone's putting about Roro Riquelme. I heard the other day that apparently Man City were sniffing around him.
Apparently so.
Really?
Apparently, he's been pretty decent last season in spells. So I'm not sure about that, I don't remember him being very strong or very quick, but maybe he's improved in the last year or two. But there we go.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
You very much, Steve, and thank you to you, the fans, for checking out this video. Do hit that like button, and thanks for interacting or placing any comments in there. We read every single one. We'll be back next week for this weekly show where we'll look at the second game and how we got on there, and any other news that's breaking. Maybe Alex Scott will be through the Cherries door. But Andoni is at... Sorry?
Gavinia in the door. Get it done.
Vinya. On my outro as well, John. Andoni is at the wheel. Enjoy the rest of your week. Look after yourself. From me, John, James, and Steve. We'll see you on the next one. Up, Cherries.
Up the cherries.